Otaku Hideki never dares to imagine that the goddess he confessed in the game turned out to be a sloppy mid-aged man in the real world. Such an experience traumatized the male protagonist, and he no longer trusted the female players in the game. Now, a female player is confessing her feelings to him but getting rejected cruelly. In the following days, the female player keeps confessing to Hideki, while he doesn't change his mind. By chance, Hideki meets this female player offline and regrets his previous rejection very much because she is actually a pretty girl with a hot figure. What kind of story will happen between Hideki and the female players? Give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's start the story. In the game world, Hideki and a pretty girl called Ekko often team up together to complete missions since they are allies from the same guild. Ekko plays the role of a cleric in charge of healing her teammates. Nevertheless, she frequently chooses the wrong target for the treatment, which enhances the monster's stamina instead. Fortunately, Hideki will protect her in time, making Ekko quite touched and thrilled. She has proposed to Hideki 10 times in a row. Even if Hideki rejected her many times, she refused to give up. At Ekko's insistence, Hideki finally decides to accept her marriage proposal. They become a very happy couple in the game. But in the real world, Hideki isn't getting along well with girls. Akane is Hideki's classmate, and she hates otaku like Hideki very much. But Hideki doesn't care what Akane thinks. He is addicted to the internet and goes home after class every day just to play the game. The game he plays is called Legendary Age, a multiplayer online role-playing game. There is no charge for playing the game, but players need to pay to get the game items. The guild that Hideki and Ekko are in is a small guild with only 4 members. They have known each other for a year and are very close. At the guild meeting, Ekko announces that she and Hideki are married in the game. Even so, Ekko is very sad to think that Hideki has once rejected her. Hideki doesn't want to upset Ekko and can only explain the frustration he had on his first proposal. He believes that many female characters are played by men, and Ekko is no exception. It wasn't until recently that Hideki realized that the game world is virtual, so as long as the female character is cute enough, it doesn't matter if it is a man behind the computer. The guild president highly agrees with Hideki. She plays male character, but in reality she is a high school girl. Because she is very addicted to games and always spends money on games, no one believes that she is a girl. In order to prove her gender, the president proposes to hold an offline party. Hideki has always thought Ekko is a boy. In addition to this, the other 2 guild members are also playing male characters. He thinks they are all boys and thus has a very casual attitude towards this gathering. However, when he arrives to the spot, he finds that he is the only boy in the entire guild, and the girls are all his schoolmates. The guild president, whose name is Kyo, is also the student council president of their school, while another guild member turns out to be Hideki's classmate, Akane. Ekko and Hideki are also peers, but she never joins a club and has no friends at school, so she feels very happy to know them. Kyo is particularly sympathetic to Ekko's feelings since she doesn't have real-life friends either. She was born into a very wealthy family, but her parents educated her very strictly and even interfered with her friendship. This offline gathering bonds them. Ekko is a very passionate person. She adores Hideki no matter in games or in reality. Hideki feels very impressed, but he thinks games are different from reality, and constantly reminds himself not to get too close to Ekko. One day at school, Ekko comes to Hideki's classroom. Not only does she call out Hideki's name in the game, but she also announces in public that they are a couple. Seeing Hideki being embarrassed, Akane, in order to help Hideki out of the siege, asks them to chat outside the classroom. At this time, Ekko calls out Akane's online nickname, which makes her very ashamed. Not wanting to expose herself playing the game, she forcibly takes Ekko outside the classroom. Ekko is an innocent girl, thus she can't comprehend why they seem unhappy. Hideki explains that game is not the same as reality, and he wants Ekko to pay attention to the time, place, and occasion. But Ekko can't tell the difference between game and reality, and feels very sad. She thinks as she's married to Hideki, they should be very close. She and Akane are also great friends. Since they get along so well in the game, there shouldn't be any difference in real life. To comfort Ekko, they can only acquiesce to her statement, and Ekko agrees to not call them by their online nicknames in real life. During their lunch break, they gather in Kyo's office. Ekko prepares a bento for Hideki, which she considers as her responsibility as a wife. Ekko also believes that they became a couple in the game because they are soulmates, so they are compatible even outside of the game. But Hideki insists that game and reality are different, and he vows to make Ekko aware of the difference between the two. Kyo is very supportive of Hideki's decision and offers him a solution. she establishes a net game club, where members can play online games together after school and have offline gatherings on days off. She thinks that creating a space where the characters and gamers are present at the same time would help Ekko feel the difference between the game and reality. Unfortunately, Ekko still believes that there is no difference between the game and reality, and she decides to prove her feelings for Hideki by time. After that, Ekko tries her best to show affection for Hideki, but Hideki behaves coldly towards Ekko in order to help her break away from the game world. At this time, a teacher named Saito notices the closeness between Ekko and Hideki. She then talks with Hideki about Ekko's friendless situation and hopes he can pay extra attention to her. After school, they come to the game club to play games. Before the mission begins, Hideki wants to see Ekko's game gear, but to his surprise, the gear Ekko is wearing is all inappropriate. She only wears those good-looking gears regardless of the attributes. In order to increase the strength of the team, Hideki forces Ekko to wear gear with a higher stat value. They restrict Kyo to buy items since she always spends money like water in the game. As a result, Kyo is injured while fighting monsters since her strength is weakened. Hideki urges Ekko to heal her, but Ekko isn't familiar with her new gear and has to ask Hideki for help. Although the overall efficiency of the game has improved, each of them is very tired after the game. After the activity, Hideki and Ekko go back home together. Ekko thoroughly enjoys her time with Hideki. She feels like that the way they're getting along in real life is just as sweet as they do in the game. If it's possible, she wants to be with Hideki forever. In the following time, the members of the game club gather to play games every day. On this day, Akane goes to the washroom in the middle of the game. In her absence, Hideki and Kyo deliberately change her gaming gear when Akane is back, only to find her wearing a doll costume. She gets pissed. After the game, Akane realizes that she also mixed up the real world and the game world. Kyo thinks this went against her original purpose for creating the game club, announcing that the club will soon be abolished due to the lack of consultants. She hopes to change Ekko's perspective before that. To help Ekko realize the game world is different from the reality, Hideki contacts Nikoheim, the female player who claimed to be a man and has rejected him before. Knowing about his intention, Nikoheim thinks Hideki is a gentle person. He has also met people like Ekko, therefore he thinks Ekko's situation is very dangerous and hopes Hideki can help Ekko more. With Nikoheim's encouragement, Hideki has a serious conversation with Ekko. Although they did in-game marriage, in reality they are just classmates. In addition to this, he also reminds Ekko not to trust the people she meets in the game too much. Ekko notices something unusual in Hideki. She guesses that Hideki comes to remind her because he got advice from a girl. Thinking of that, she feels very jealous. When Hideki and Nikoheim meet in the game, Ekko follows behind them but soon gets discovered. Hideki explains that Nikoheim is the one who once rejected him and warns Ekko not to go to Nikoheim. Listening to what Hideki is saying to her, Ekko feels very sad. Over time, Ekko announces to them in the game that she has met a game partner and is ready to meet him offline. Hideki, fearing that Ekko would be in danger, doesn't allow her to meet the stranger. However, Ekko acts very calm, claiming that the game is not the same as reality, and since she and Hideki are just classmates, he cannot interfere with her decision. Hideki is angry, but he can't refute Ekko's words. Akane and Kyo sense something unusual in Ekko. They inquire about where Ekko and her game mate are meeting, and urge Hideki to rush to protect her. Hideki is worried about Ekko, even if he refuses to admit it. Both Akane and Kyo think Hideki likes Ekko very much, because even in real life, he can't completely get rid of his role as Ekko's husband in the game. But Hideki doesn't agree with them, because he has realized that he is worrying about the real Ekko, not the game characters. After all these days with Ekko in reality, he has fallen in love with her. Hideki doesn't want Ekko to get hurt and rushes to her side as fast as he can. He reminds Ekko that she is his wife in the game and that he does not allow her to meet the strange man offline. But he never expects that Nikoheim is the one Ekko meets, and she is not a mid-aged man, but Saito-sensei. Saito, in order to reject Hideki, lied that she is a middle-aged man. Ekko is very angry when she thinks of Hideki's proposal to Saito. She wants to duel Saito, but this weak girl is immediately defeated by Saito, because Saito has lied to Hideki. Kyo uses this to coerce her into becoming a consultant in the game club. One day, Hideki and Ekko are bored because Akane and Kyo do not log into the game. They go on a date in the game, which makes Ekko feel very happy. While passing by a hotel, Ekko offers to have an intimate interaction with Hideki. Hideki is very shy, and he rejects Ekko. Later, Hideki protects a novice player, Set, in the game. Because Set isn't familiar with the basics of the game, Hideki explains it for her. Seeing the interaction between Hideki and Set, Ekko is very jealous. What's more, Set thinks Hideki is a gentleman and decides to follow him. Unexpectedly, Set turns out to be Akane's friend, Nanako. Nanako stumbled upon Akane playing a game with Hideki. Out of curiosity, she registered a game account, and to her surprise, Hideki and Ekko just have in-game marriage, which can hardly be called a couple. Ekko hears Nanako's words, but she can't refute Nanako, which makes her very sad. For the next few days, Ekko doesn't come to school. Hideki tries to contact Ekko in the game. However, Ekko tells him that she plans to give up on having a real life, and will not go to class anymore, because as long as she is in the game world, Hideki is her husband. Hideki wants to explain to Ekko, but Ekko disables chat function and refuses to communicate with him. Learning about Ekko's situation, Akane tells Hideki that Ekko is well aware of her own drawbacks. For example, she is a slow learner, and she often does something silly. Hideki is the first to encourage her. Ekko doesn't expect anyone to accept her shortcomings. She is thus very surprised and happy, and she believes that she and Hideki will be together forever. Akane also treasures the friendship of them four, hoping that Hideki will take Ekko back as soon as possible. Afterward, Hideki visits Ekko's home. Ekko's mother has heard about Hideki from Ekko and thus treats him warmly. She trusts Hideki a lot and even hands him the key to Ekko's room. When Hideki walks into Ekko's room, she is getting dressed. He sees Ekko's private part and feels very shy. After Ekko gets dressed, Hideki states that he's coming to play games with her. They spend a whole day playing the online game, and when their friends log in, Hideki announces that if Ekko drops out of school, he will follow her. But Ekko is aware that Hideki is different from her, and doesn't want him to drop out of school for her. Hideki thinks that Ekko wants to quit because she has a very unpleasant time at school, and nothing makes her happy except for club activities. Ekko doesn't expect Hideki to know her so well. She admits that the real world often wears her out, which is why she wants to hide in the game world. Hideki understands Ekko's feelings. He promises to wait for Ekko until she is willing to return to the real world. Ekko is so touched that she decides to go back to school. After Ekko returns to school, she gets a lot of attention from her classmates. Nanako feels very guilty for what she said before. To compensate Ekko, Nanako helps her fit into class since Ekko is not good at socializing. Their relationship thus eases a lot and they often play games together. But Nanako, like Ekko, is very bad at playing games. When they go on a mission together, they get into a lot of trouble because Nanako always presses the wrong button. With final exams approaching, Kyo makes the decision to stop club activities, because Ekko's grades are the worst among them. Hideki calls on others to tutor her. They also stop Ekko from slacking off to play the game. With their help, Ekko's grades pass the passing line. When the summer vacation begins, Kyo organizes a training camp activity. Ekko is very happy to know that their destination is by the sea. Meanwhile, Hideki is a bit stressed out, because he wants to confess his feelings to Ekko, but he doesn't know how to say it. He seeks help from Kyo and Akane, but they can't give practical advice since they both agree that Ekko will not refuse Hideki. Hideki is helpless, leaving with no choice but to tell Ekko what he really thinks. He tells Ekko that he likes her and wants to have a serious relationship with her. Unexpectedly, Ekko turns Hideki down. Hideki feels depressed. Akane guesses that there is a misunderstanding between them, and she goes to ask Ekko what she really thinks. Ekko tells Akane that she and Hideki are married while he was asking her to be his girlfriend. It means they need to get divorced first, which she is reluctant to do. Learning what Ekko is thinking, Hideki realizes that Ekko still can't tell the difference between the game and reality, and he feels very distressed. To help Hideki, Kyo decides to ban the game on the first day of the training camp. As long as they can make Ekko happy in the real world, things in the game won't matter to her. After the training camp starts, they have a very pleasant time by the sea. As dark falls, Kyo specially prepares a brilliant fireworks to help Hideki. Under this beautiful scene, Hideki confesses his feelings to Ekko. Ekko responds to his feelings, but she thinks they are already a loving couple, so he doesn't need to express his love. Once again, Hideki's love confession fails. After that, Kyo takes them to a fancy hotel, where a limited edition event cooperating with the game Legendary Age is held. As long as they consume in the hotel, they can get game items. In addition to this, computers are provided in every room, so they can log into the game in their rooms. As Hideki prepares to log into the game, he discovers that his account has been hacked. Fearing that the hacker would deceive Ekko via his lost account, he hurries to her room. Hideki checks Ekko's chat history and finds that she was asked to send private photos. Thankfully, Ekko has discovered that the person who was talking to her wasn't Hideki. Hideki tries to log into his account again, but the hacker notices his move and steals all the props and deletes his account. In order to retrieve the account and items, Hideki and the other guild members set out on action. Kyo finds some of Hideki's props at the market and buys them for him, while Nikoheim's friends also help find his wedding ring. Finally, they investigate that the hacker often engages in scams in the game and tries to make money through the game. Thereupon, Hideki forges a website that converts game items into cash in an attempt to get the hacker's attention. While Hideki is busy dealing with the hacker, Ekko prepares a very hearty bento for him. Thanks to Hideki's efforts, he manages to find the hacker. The administrator discovers the hacker's violation and punishes him, followed by Hideki taking back his game account, witnessed by their friends. He and Ekko once again get married in the game. At this time, Hideki tells Ekko that he wants her to actually like him in reality. Yet, Ekko admits that she already fell in love with him. Before the end of the summer vacation, Ekko, Akane, and Nanako go to Kyo's house to do summer homework together. Kyo has never had friends before. It is the first time she has brought friends home, and her servants are very happy to see this, forgetting about she has learned in class. Ekko can't get focused when doing her homework. During then, she leaves to the bathroom, but Kyo's mansion is so big that Ekko accidentally gets lost. In the end, Ekko has fun all day in Kyo's big house and never completes her summer homework. Before going to bed, Nanako asks Ekko a question. She wonders why Ekko can't tell the difference between game and reality. Ekko explains it in detail for them. Assuming that Akane and Nanako are a real couple, it will irritate Nanako if Akane marries someone else in the game. In reverse, it also makes sense. Therefore, in Ekko's mind, there is no difference between game world and real world. Everyone except Ekko thinks this is ridiculous. However, they seem to be somehow convinced by Ekko's theory. As the school starts, the cultural festival follows. According to custom, each club participates in cultural festival. The game club won't be an exception, and they will have to hand over the exhibits. Since Legendary Age rolls out a new siege campaign activity, Kyo decides to participate in the siege battle, and then hangs the flag with the school emblem on it after the victory. Unfortunately, there are only 4 people in their guild, and the team is very weak. No matter how many times they adjust their strategy, they cannot win the siege battle. Kyo doesn't want to give up. Not only does she enlist Nanako and Saito for help, but she also hires a group of mercenaries. The mercenary guild is very powerful, and they easily win the siege battle. But before the end of the battle, the mercenary guild actually betrays them. Ekko regrets it since she didn't do anything when their guild crystals were destroyed. Hideki, on the other hand, thinks that Ekko has grown a lot. Ekko used to be quite afraid of problems, but she is now starting to feel guilty about avoiding responsibility. There is one last siege next week, and they must keep going in order to have no regrets. Before the last round of siege begins, Hideki seeks help from the other 2 guilds, because they have helped him find his account and props before. Hideki trusts them very much. A week later, they form an alliance against the Mercenary Guild. As the siege begins, they quickly take over the city, but they also have to hold it until the end of this round. The Mercenary Guild appears in the last 10 minutes. Kyo leads them in the fight against the mercenaries as a commander. This time, they are all trying their best. When Kyo falls in danger, Ekko blocks the attack for her. Although Ekko is defeated, they are all proud of her courage. Towards the end of the event, Kyo uses very expensive props, which will automatically replenish her stamina once she takes damage. For this siege battle, Kyo has spent a huge amount of money to buy 500 items, which allows her to be the last survivor. Kyo doesn't care about the price of the props. For her, the money spent for her companions is always worth it. In the end, they win the siege battle. On the day of the cultural festival, the game club displays photos of their victory in the siege battle, which attracts the attention of many students. At the end of the story, Ekko gradually falls in love with real life with the help of her friends. Although Hideki still insists that reality and game are different, his feelings for Ekko are the same. That's how this anime ends. And you thought there is never a girl online? It's said to be a harem anime, but I personally consider it a romance anime. Hideki, the only male character in the anime, has only ever liked Ekko. Also, their love story is quite clear from the first episode. Even more uncommon is the fact that other female characters consistently support Hideki's pursuit of Ekko. I have to admit that each girl in this anime is very attractive. It's enviable that Hideki gets to play games with beautiful girls every day. Alright, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye!